Alright, let's talk about the old beta. What's up everybody, my name is Sen, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I want to chat very casually and candidly with you all about the ending of the Invincible versus closed beta. Now, as you guys can see in the bottom right of the screen, I played the beta for about 9, probably close to 10 hours, and I had a time with it. I beat up on a bunch of people, had some GGs, had some BGs, listened to the BGs, and to be honest, before we actually went into the beta, like when the game was actually announced and I saw some like the test footage or like some of the trailers, I couldn't like not given less of a fuck about this game. I saw it, I'm just like, oh my god, I was feeding into the same thing everyone else was, like, oh, more tag slop, but I decided to give it a chance anyways, just to, you know, give it its fair dues, see if I would actually like it, give it a fair shot. And after everything is said and done, I thought the game, or at least the beta version of the game, was extremely okay. I'm not sure if this was the exact goal of the game, but it's just extremely basic, which if it wants to go the easy fighting game route, that's totally fine. But that's just going to limit the amount of time I'd be willing to spend on the game if the ceiling for the game isn't very high. As far as visuals are concerned, it took me a little bit to warm up to the actual aesthetic of the game. I got used to the character models over time. It just took a little, of course, getting used to. But as far as moving around the game, like, the game kind of just animates a little ugly, and that's totally okay. It's just a bit on the stiffer side as far as animation is concerned. But to be honest, I don't really care much about how the game like animates or like moves and grooves too much, as long as playing the game actually feels good and is fun to take part in. If for whatever reason you happen to live under a rock, Invincible Versus is a 3v3 tag fighter, and when I play a tag fighter, I expect the power fantasy for the game to be really high and for the game to be crazy and over the top, and the power level of this game just isn't all that high. At least what I can tell out of the game, and at least initially, there isn't really any disgusting, fucked up things I can do to someone, or at least out of what I picked up on. It just felt so tag game fundamentals when I was playing. The combos in the game are kind of whack, IMO. There isn't a lot of flexibility in your kit, so there isn't a ton of sauce in the game. A lot of what's limiting this here is that the hit stun decay is so high for each individual character, so it's really tough to find like really finite cool combos or interesting routing because the scaling of each individual's combo is so limited. If you want to find sauce in this game, you're gonna have to work really hard to actually come across whatever it is you're looking for, and that could be a good or a bad thing depending on who you ask. If you want to get any kind of good damage in a basic way, you're going to be using your EX gauges, which will add to the hit stun meter, but it won't actually cause your combo to spin out. Outside of that, you're active tagging a lot. A lot of combos just kind of boil down to like LMH launcher into LMH special move into super, and then active tag LMH super, active tag LMH super, and that was kind of the basic route for how to get your good damage, and everyone was just kind of rinse and repeating that. That kind of just screams like a lack of flexibility in the combat system, which makes it more limiting for if someone does want to spend a bunch of time in this game. One of the handful of things that I took away from the game that I actually liked is the combo breaking. You have assist breakers, which will break you out of a combo for the cost of adding gray health damage onto that assist. But the breakers seemed really inconsistent. I couldn't quite get an understanding of how exactly they worked. It felt like my opponent was getting to use theirs a ton and getting them back really fast, and then tracking on them didn't feel super consistent either. Like sometimes the assist breakers wouldn't track really at all, and then other times they would have your exact GPS location. Outside of this, the alternate way to defend yourself if your other characters are dead is by reacting to active tags and breaking them with a timed input. My only negative about the counter system or the breaker system was there was no real counterplay to the actual breaking if you wanted to call out your opponent going for a burst or a tag breaker or whatever it may be. That if you read it, you get no reward for actually calling it out. That's my main gripe with the breaker system. Breaking active tag isn't really all that hard, it just takes like a little bit of basic timing. You could still fuck it up, which is kind of cool, but it's not exactly like Killer Instinct where if you mess up your combo breaker, you get locked out and then your opponent gets to fully cash out. You get multiple times a combo break, which would be the same amount of times your opponent uses active tag. So for every active tag, you have a chance to break the combo, which I think it's not bad. This was actually kind of nice for me because it kept me engaged instead of checking out when my opponent was doing a combo. There's always moments to pay attention to. There's not as much downtime even when you are getting comboed, even if it's a full cash out. There are a couple of basic things that I didn't mess with too much. I did not do a lot of snapbacks, even though I probably should have. And I didn't even know Heroic Strike was a mechanic in the game until everything was said and done. But I got by just fine without it. I won a majority of my games, which leads me to my next topic, which was the rage quitting. When I first hopped on the game, I thought maybe it was a bit of an exaggeration, but it actually wasn't. There was one recording session where I played 5 games for a video and got rage quit on 3 times and one and done once. I know this is because the casual audience isn't capable of having their ego attacked very directly like this, but this was happening a decent amount and it was just kind of surprising. That's more of a complaint of the people playing the game and less about the actual game. Now, regarding how the online actually felt, the netcode itself was pretty decent. I didn't have too many laggy matches, there were a couple here and there, so things were holding up surprisingly decently. I'm sure the netcode isn't perfect, but it was functional, which, yes, in today's climate, that is to be expected out of any fighting game coming out. Another thing too, because the power level of the game is not crazy high or anything like that, and like actual genuine mix-ups aren't that much of a thing, they went the route of making assists act as overheads, which I thought was interesting to kind of like help aid that, and you could like try to mix up your opponent. Another thing like in favor of that I actually thought was really cool and kind of slept on initially was actually the EX movement of the game, like spending meter on your movement to propel yourself forward and then doing something like EX dash low, which was very effective, and then like EX dash overhead with like a kind of like an IAD, but just like from full screen overhead or like getting like really dirty cross ups. That was surprisingly cool. I was surprisingly really into the EX movement. As far as the actual roster is concerned, I can't complain too much, but I feel like the IP is part of the problem, where so many of the characters share very similar power sets, and the like heavy desired characters that people want to be in the game also share those similar power sets. There is a bunch of characters they could add. Like for me personally, if I were to ask for a character to be in the game, I might go with the Mauler twins. I think that would be like cool and interesting and unique. The roster wasn't bad. It's a beta. We'll see more when the game actually fully releases. Outside of that, I thought it was really nice that we got a training mode, especially after all the shit with Tokon and not having a training mode in there, and that was like a big fiasco. So this was a nice inclusion, even though the game is as basic as it is. Outside of that, and as negative as this video may or may not seem, I actually had a fair bit of fun with the game. I feel like the internet just likes to either over-hate or over-glaze on stuff. Things aren't allowed to just be okay and exist as just being okay. Obviously, this game is trying to kind of go the DBFZ route with a big name IP 3v3 tag fighter, but the Invincible IP is not big enough to carry this game alone, and the game isn't good enough to have the life cycle of something like a DBFZ. Funnily enough though, this game kind of did like the inverse thing for me, where like you expect Invincible fans to go and play the Invincible video game or like the Invincible fighting game or whatever. It was actually because of playing this game that I was like, oh, you know what, I really need to pick back up Invincible. So I just fucking binged through the all of season 2 to get caught up on that, and then I still have to crack into season 3, which I've really been enjoying getting back to the show. The show's really good and I'm happy it exists. And yeah, man, I just think the game is kind of okay. There's a couple of good ideas, or like not bad ideas, but those not bad ideas aren't big enough to carry just an okay game. This is not a big enough game or like rich enough combat to like push this at the pinnacle or like peak of fighting games. Like I can think a game is okay, and this could still be my least favorite fighting game to play if I were to actively play it. Both things can be true at the same time. The coolest little inclusion of the game for me was actually the sudden death mode, because it was a unique take on a game timing out, and I fucked with that heavily. Really cool idea. I think this game is a really great turn off your brain side game to have, but really not too much more than that. I will be surprised and shocked if the day ever comes where someone tells me their first fighting game was Invincible Versus, or if that is even their main game. That would even be crazier for me. All in all, I still had fun with the game. Like, you can have fun in the infancy stages of playing a game, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's actually worth the $50 price tag behind it. I'd be even more pissed off if it was like truly full price, 60 or 70 bucks coming out just because it's Invincible. That would be like the dark timeline. With that said though, I'm going to be picking up the Avatar fighting game sheerly off of the price tag, and sheerly because it's part of my favorite genre, and because it's an IP I like, and the price is right. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, you're putting out a fighting game that I'm hearing a lot of good press about. It's an IP I like, and it's cheap as hell. Yeah, sign me the fuck up, absolutely. But all in all, that's gonna do things. I thought the game was extremely okay. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you really liked the game and really rocked the game, had a great time, or even let me know if you fucking hate the game. But if you fucking hate the game, tell me why. Don't give me any of this fucking cornball ass like auto response, regurgitate whatever your favorite streamer said. Give me actual feedback on what you didn't like about the game personally. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to keep on fighting and get ready for the next battle. I'll see you guys later. Peace.